I got an exhaust manifold off a 2020A ProGator. This is the older style, is actually 2006 model before they went to the EFI engine. And I've had quite a few of these crack. It cracks over here, and it actually cracks all the way around the exhaust manifold and gives you a little exhaust leak. And I was just going to show you what I've done in the past, and that seems to work pretty good by brazing this up. So follow along. First thing I'm going to do is grind some of this out, and then I'll show you a close-up after I get it opened up, just to give a spot for the brazing to go into. That was real good. Got my welding jacket. I've had this thing since 2008. I love it. It's got my money's worth out of it. And to braze, I like to use TIG gloves. You can use regular welding gloves, whatever you want to use. So for this, I want my acetylene on about 3.5 to 4. This is going to be a real good video. This is what happens when you run out of fuel.
One eternity later.
Welcome back to the channel. I got some acetylene now. There's nothing more frustrating than when you run out of gas. You know, you get ready, you lay all your tools out, and then you're out of gas. So anyway, new tank of acetylene. We're going to start our torch. We're going to put the acetylene on about 3, and oxygen will be on about 10. And we have a welding tip. This is actually a 205 welding tip, and this is Smith. I think it's about equivalent as like a number 2 and a Victor torch. Anyway, shade 5 safety glasses. So I'll be wearing these. Turn my acetylene on. I'm gonna set my flow rate to 3 on the acetylene. Turn it off here. Turn on my oxygen. Open it up. Going to about 10 on it. I'll close this valve. And you always want to start with your fuel. So the acetylene, we're going to turn it on, light the torch, and get a somewhat sooty flame. And then we'll open up the oxygen, and we'll open the oxygen until we get a neutral flame. So you can have 3 different types of flames. It's a carbonizing flame, so that's too much fuel. Neutral flames in the middle, and an oxidizing flame, so that's too much oxygen. And for brazing, I always just use a neutral flame. The other thing to remember in brazing is the brass is gonna go wherever the heat goes. So I got some brazing rod, I got my TIG gloves, and I'm gonna warm this whole thing up, and then I'll start laying the brass in. And it's very similar to welding, to TIG welding, something like that. So let's get going. So this is what I'm referring to, city flame. Then I'm gonna open my oxygen slowly. And once my tip gets right in here, that's a neutral flame. If I keep going with the oxygen, the torch gets louder, and it's a real fine point on this blue flame. That would be an oxidizing flame. If I slow down my oxygen, you get a flame like this. This is a carbonizing flame. So a little bit too much fuel, not enough oxygen. So again, crank it in. And this blue tip, we're gonna keep moving until, or keep opening the oxygen valve until it gets back and meets the other flame. So right in there. Hopefully the camera's picking this up. I'm gonna put on my welding jacket. So take a pause right quick. When I was at the welding shop getting more acetylene, I went ahead and picked up a new jacket. And I thought these were more expensive than they were, but I want to say it was like less than $30 for this. And I've had that other one for a long, long time, and I would highly recommend it. It'll save your clothes for sure, if nothing else. It's really good if you're doing a lot of grinding and stuff like that to keep metal filings off of you. Take two. You might notice too, this could be kind of backwards to the way some people set it up. I just like having the valves down when I'm brazing or welding or something like that. I just found it's easier. They kind of get in the way if they're facing up. So like I said, I'm gonna warm this whole thing up. This will take a minute. The reason we want it to warm up the whole thing is so when it cools, it'll cool slower because there's more heat in the material and less likely for the brass to crack. I'm gonna turn up my acetylene a little bit here on the torch while I'm heating this up, just to hopefully warm it up a little bit quicker. I could take the heating tip, the rosebud, and warm it up that way. That would definitely be faster. And I just have it clamped in the vise just to hold it in place. Not a lot of clamping force or anything, just to hold it there. The other reason you kind of preheat the whole thing is if you get your torch too close, it will put the flame out. But the other reason you preheat is to hopefully prevent cracking and that kind of stuff when it cools down. And I'm just going to start here on the corner. And when we get ready to braze, we're going to bring our torch in so the tip here gets really close to the metal. And then we're going to get it cherry red. And you'll notice working with brass is a little different, you know, the color that comes up and stuff. So I got a little drop in there, but it's not warm enough yet. when you get it at the right temperature, you can tell the brass just really starts flowing out. Readjust a little bit. My tip's getting a little clogged up. Sometimes if you turn the oxygen up, it'll blow out the debris that builds up in the tip. I think gravity was kind of working against me there, and it was pooling up on the low side of this, so that's why I repositioned in the vise to try to get gravity to help us out a little bit. You'll see me pull the torch away. That's just me letting it cool off just a little bit when it gets, because I don't want it to get too hot. We'll have brass flying everywhere. And I can go back and kind of work over it and loosen it up again, basically. Get it to fall in there where it needs to be. Just trying to even it out a little bit here. Oh, this is really just cosmetic. Not making it any stronger. A little trick too, if your torch goes out and your material is hot enough, it'll ignite the torch. Another thing you can do when you get tired, put the hose over your shoulder. This thing does get heavy after a while. All right, I think I got it good there. One more little spot I want to try to get. It's always that one spot. I usually get you in trouble, but I want to try nonetheless. Just kind of going back over everything and smoothing it over. All right. Now, we'll let this cool off, and I'll bring you back in for a closer look. So we got our exhaust manifold brazed up, and I'm gonna take a wire wheel and clean it up so you can see it better, what it looks like. I already hit it with a grinder here and knocked this off. I'm gonna grind it some more before we put it in the milling machine. Just clamp it in the vise loose here and hit it with the wire wheel. Now I'm going to clamp it in the vise and grind this down just so we don't have to mill as much off of it. I want to get too carried away, take off too much material there, but that way we won't have to cut as much in the milling machine. But this should finish up this video. Until next time, see you, bye.